Hello YouTube, it's Ian here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we are doing another book review. Now today's book review is going to be over Wyvern Academy, Path to Ascension Book 1, which is co-authored by Atlas Kane and Grayson Sinclair. Now, Atlas Kane is a relatively new author. He has 3 books out, all under the title of the series Chimera King, which is a gamelit harem fantasy thing. And Grayson Sinclair has 1 book out called Hive Night, which I have volume 1 of both of those. Well, Hive Night is only 1 volume so far. Copies of both of those, which I will be reviewing soon on the channel. I'm not really sure. I have been reading a lot of harem-lit books, and I kind of need a break from those. Plus, I have a test for one of my classes next week, so I might have to take a little bit of a step back from reading for a bit to deal with that, and then I'll come back and do all of these reviews. Now, I apologize for my lighting situation. It's going to look really shitty because it's raining kind of hard and really cloudy in my region of Texas right now, and I don't have any lighting besides the sun. So it's going to be kind of pasty. Hopefully I'll be able to fix it with some filtering on my computer, but probably not. So anyway, so Wyvern Academy, Atlas Kane, Grayson Sinclair. It's published by Amazon, I think, well, it's self-published on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon Unlimited or Kindle Unlimited, whatever the service is called, or you can buy them or buy it for $5 or $4.99. And the genres here are original English light novel. It does have a few illustrations which are pretty interesting. I liked 2 out of the 3. I thought they were nice, and I like the cover more or less. I would also call this urban fantasy. That's technically not what the authors would consider it, but I think it has enough elements of like something like that you could call it urban fantasy, or at least they will at some point. So maybe it's not urban fantasy. What it is though is cultivation, which it's a new thing to me. Apparently, cultivation novels are novels that are based around the Taoist idea of cultivation, which is when you develop your spiritual energy, your ki, or your martial arts ability, or something like that, to such a degree that you basically gain immortality, or you gain enough power to live for a long time. And most of these tend to be battle-oriented stories. So this is a cultivation novel, an original English light novel. It has elements of fantasy, battle. Like, if you like battle shonen, you'll probably like this one. And like I said, I would consider it a bit of an urban fantasy, but it's not necessarily the case. Now, the premise here is that 2 young men must show their fighting skills, their prowess, to make it into a prestigious battle school, which is teaching them how to be strong enough to battle against these demons that have, made it to the world. And the book follows their journey through the school on the path to Ascension, which is when they gain enough power to beat demons. And yeah, that's the basic premise. It's very interesting. I quite enjoyed my reading experience, although I am curious to see how they wrote it. I might have to ask them about it privately, because I'm not sure if what they did was Grayson Sinclair got 1 character and Atlas King got another and they would just switch off, or if they did it together and they both wrote both parts. I'm not really sure, although it is an interesting topic, so I'll probably ask them individually, separately. Now, let's just jump into the evaluation. So the plotline was good. The magic school-esque kind of training-oriented story is good. It progresses well enough. You get really connected to the characters. You really enjoy seeing them do well and do bad and kind of deal with their slice of life aspects, because it's not just, oh, we gotta battle. It's also like, oh, we gotta go train, we gotta study, we gotta take tests and stuff. And there's a bit of romance. It is a harem-lit, so one of our main characters has a harem in this, and the other one is building towards one, more or less. And there's a good amount of emotional tension between our 2 main characters, which are kind of a brother-brother relationship, and then all the side characters that are with them. So it's really good, really enjoyable. It's very interesting overall, and I quite enjoyed it. I don't think it was my favorite novel by far. I don't think it was the greatest thing ever, but it was a very good, enjoyable novel on its own. I would really encourage anyone to read it because it's very fun. If you like Battle Shonen and want to get into reading more books instead of just comic books or manga, this would be a pretty good one because it'll feel really similar. So yeah, that's it for that. I don't really want to spoil too much about what the specific events are because this is a very brand new novel. It came out 2 days ago, if I remember correctly, on the 2nd of September. This should go up on Saturday, which would be September 4th. So yeah, 2 days ago. I'll leave all the links down below so you guys can go check it out. It's free on Kindle Unlimited, so you don't really lose anything if you don't like it, and it's only $5 if you want to buy it. There is no physical print of this yet or ever. I'm not really sure, but it's only digital right now. Okay, so the characters. There's 2 main characters. One of them is Jay. His name is James Mallory, if I remember correctly. And our other main character is Alex. I can't remember his last name, but Jay is an American son of a military man and kind of had a really rough childhood. And then Alex had an equally rough childhood in a different way, but he's a half American, half Japanese kid, if I remember correctly. And he grew up in Japan. His dad didn't have a great time, but he managed to make it to America to take a test for this battle school. Now, we have 6 supporting characters. I can't remember all their names. I think it was Scarlet, Ava, and there was a Japanese girl that are like connected to Jay. And then we have Reagan, Piper, and Wyatt, which are connected to Alex. And then we have a lot more secondary characters, like the headmistress or the principal of the school. We have a couple bad guys, which are kind of like school bullies. The head of the disciplinary committee, a couple teachers, and Mo, who is a friend of Jay's. He also practices a similar fighting style to him. And then we have a girl from Greece who's blind, who reminds me of Toph Beifong for some reason. She's really interesting. So yeah, we have way too many characters. Lots of them. The story, which I didn't mention in the plot section, but the story flip-flops between Alex and Jay, and it kind of does that the whole time. So sometimes you go over the same thing, sometimes you go over different things, but overall, it's a very mostly concise storyline. So the characters are interesting. They all have kind of difficult backgrounds, sad stories to them, which I thought was cool. I mean, well, not cool, but like in a war-torn world, basically, or in a world where demons are coming out of places very often, it kind of makes sense that everyone's going to have a kind of crappy reality to them. So I thought that was interesting. I enjoy that each character has a distinct voice and they're all very different from each other. It's very clear to see, okay, this person is acting a certain way. This is obviously not Piper. This is Scarlet or Ava or whatever the case may be, which was really good. I think that was a really good mark of the ability of the 2 authors, which is obviously pretty good. Now, the world building here. So the world building is good. There's demons. They pass through gates. We don't really know how or why. It's not clear what happens. I assume that it's part of the next story. We have spiritual powers that each character has to develop. Each character has their own different fighting style. For example, one of Alex's friends, Reagan, she does capoeira, which is, you know, the Brazilian dance fight thing where, like, you guys know that guy from Tekken. He does the weird dancing stuff and he like hits the other characters while he's breakdancing. That kind of thing was really interesting, although I don't really know if it's really that good of a fighting style, but it was interesting that it was brought in. So cool, at least for representation purposes. It was really interesting. And everyone, like I said, everyone has their own fighting style. Like Jay fights a very specific type of kung fu. Alex does this thing called Sogai, which is kind of like spiritual stuff. Like he blocks off his senses, and he develops a sort of like supersonic radar thing that he uses to move and interact with the world without having any senses, which is really cool. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. There's 3 major academies. One of them is Japan, one of them is in America, and one of them is in Egypt or like somewhere in Africa, if I remember correctly. And the most prestigious one is in Japan, obviously, because everything's in Japan. And they're in the American one because it was the one they were able to be accepted into. And there's a lot of fighting tournaments. If you like battle manga, like I've been saying, this is a really good story for you. I really enjoyed the world building overall. It was good. It wasn't the heaviest. You're really more focused on the school life, the fighting tournaments of each character, more so than you are around the outside world, because they're only just beginning. They have to go through 3 years of schooling before they can fight demons. So this one kind of covers the first year, maybe less, like the first semester, if I remember correctly. And yeah, so there's fan service. Yes, it's good. It's not too smutty, but it's not too light either. It's not just very mechanical, like, hey, they did this, they did that, they did that. There's a bit of passion to it and a little bit of emotion, and the characters obviously care about each other and do these things because they enjoy it, and it's not just because it would be enjoyable for the reader. So props for that. Kudos for that. It was kind of interesting that one character, because we follow 2 main characters, it was interesting that one character was getting all of that, and then the other one was like very sadly sitting in the corner, not realizing, hey, you know, you can do this too if you play your cards right. So it was interesting. I thought it was a cool take, or not a cool take, but props for being different, at least. So I liked it. There's art. Yes, there's 3 images, and I assume that that's because it's expensive to get someone to make images for you. And if you're only charging $5 per book, you know, it makes sense. I thought the art was okay. I like the cover for what it could be. I think the idea of putting 4 female characters and 2 main characters, male characters in front, kind of shows you, hey, this is a harem thing. This is a school, because that's the setting of the cover. But it was a little confusing because, or maybe I was just really stupid and very simple-minded, and I was like, okay, there's a harem story. The 2 girls on the side of the guy in this, on the left side, are his, and then the other 2 are for him, for the other guy on the right. And that's not actually true, so don't go off with that. But yeah, I would have liked a little bit more characters and a little bit more illustrations. Hopefully, if this is successful, they get more illustrations for the next one. Speaking about the art specifically, and I can't show you them because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, and I don't want to put off the video to clarify something that I can just easily evade. So I'm not going to show you, but there's 2 images that are pretty good, and then there's 1 image that was okay. And the reason why it was okay is because it felt really stunted, very flat, like there was no motion and there was no 3-dimensionalness to it. I mean, it had the lines that suggest, hey, he's moving really fast, he's punching this other guy or whatever, but even with those lines, it felt very still, like stiff, like there wasn't any motion. The other 2 were fine. One of them was a image that can easily be considered still without anything. It was Jay and 2 characters on his bed after, you know, a smutty bit. And I can't remember the first one. I think it was with Alex. He was doing some technique. But yeah, the art was okay. I would like to see them upgrade this art later on, but for now it is serviceable and it's good enough. I think the artist 15 could use a bit more practice, but overall I think they're doing a really good job so far. So I'm really excited to see how their art style develops as it grows. And yeah, so I rate this a 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was really good. There was a lot of good stuff. However, there was one problem, and that problem was that between chapter 15 and chapter 16, there was this like skip in time from, okay, so chapter 15 ends in a smutty scene, and then chapter 16 starts them walking around the town. And that's fine, but there was no talk about the vacation that they took to this town before on any of the previous 15 chapters. And the fact that you go from smutty to this, to walking in a village without it being fade to black, because it wasn't really fade to black. It was like, hey, we're done, next thing. Felt a little bit off, and it really messed with me while I was trying to read, because I was like, okay, time to move on. And then you move on, but it's like very different from everything else. So that was my only complaint, my only critique for this book, besides my critique on the art. But that can easily be fixed, and that can get better over time. So I'm not really complaining about the art. However, that one section between chapter 15 and 16 was a bit off-putting, and is really the only reason why I won't give this a 5 out of 5. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I think this is a very fun title, and if you're fans of Battle Shonen, like I said, I definitely think you would be a fan of this. Yeah, so similar titles. Dragon Ball comes to mind, and the fact that Dragon Ball, because it has the Tournament of Power thing, and a lot of the characters that are human are able to fight against Saiyans and aliens and stuff, because they're so able to control their ki and their like life force and stuff. That's very similar. However, I think cultivation and this type of style of book is actually more Chinese than it is Japanese. So keep in mind that. And that's basically it. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I really appreciate you. Please support the authors. Check out Chimera King and Hive Knight, and check out this book. And if you did like, leave a review for them and leave a comment for me. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.